Hi everyone and welcome to this week's The Recovery. This week I'm joined by the most amazing Katie Piper. Hi Katie, how you doing?
I'm good, yeah, I'm happy to be here talking
I'm
to you.
so chuffed you're doing this. So chuffed because your story isn't, this is The Recovery and we talk about all things recovery, and it's the majority of the show has been recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. This is something totally different. This is about trauma and recovering from trauma.
Mm,
And I think your story is so special because it's one of such courage and one of such strength. And I will say strength because what you've gone through and what you've come through and where you are now takes real courage and strength. And I want to talk to you about that. And I kind of just think it's really important that we get all the tea.
yeah, all the tea,
All
the
the
tea
tea.
top as
So
well.
what was life like to you growing up? What was you know,
Um, so I come from like village life down in Hampshire, right? And I had like, lovely parents. My mum was a school teacher in the village, and then my dad was the local barber. So it was like you either got your hair cut by my dad or my mum gave you detention. It was that kind of small life. And we grew up like playing in fields, playing in the farmer's field. And it was quite like cotton wool rats, really. And me as a child, I was a tomboy. I was like really outdoorsy, like quite blokey and sporty. I never wore makeup as a teenager at first. I wore like cannabis leaf earrings and Ralph Lauren baggy tops and like, Adidas poppers undone to the thigh. I was really chavvy, and like I would like pierce that bit with a safety pin, pierce my ears with ice cube and safety pin.
amazing.
Yeah, like I was just a bit, I think I was just a bit bored all the time, and I was always thrilled. Like I was the one at school that had the older boyfriend that left school like 6 years ago that would meet me at the gates with a packet of cigarettes, like that kind of, like you get the
Yeah,
picture
I
basically.
got the picture, don't worry. You're the type of girl that I would have been drawn to straight away at school. So,
Yeah, yeah, people
always.
remember, not the parents. Yeah, I think I was just always looking for the next best exciting thing. But I did come from quite a hard-working family, and I really enjoyed working hard, making money. So we set up like a car washing business when we were at school in the village. Then when I left school, I went to college and I worked in the Tesco. It was a 24-hour Tesco, so I worked nights, I worked weekends, so that I could make money whilst I was still at college. And I did hair and beauty at college, and then I became more of like a glam girl and more into like shoes, clothes, going out, that kind of stuff. But still, I was quite ambitious, so
I think
I
you were
worked.
discovering yourself at that point when you were,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just kept evolving and because I'd lived in quite a small town, there wasn't really much to discover or do there, and I'd kind of peaked by 17 and like moved on.
Yeah,
Um,
you'd ridden every tractor.
so I left college and I got a job in a spa as a beautician, and every month you get the same pay of 700 quid for the month. And I remember thinking, well, this is such a glass ceiling. Why don't I nick all the clients like low key and
As you
start offering
do.
like door-to-door mobile and set up a business? So I got like a Ford Fiesta car. I got like a wax pot of Gumtree or something like that. I was probably giving everyone hepatitis, like who knows. And then I just started working like cash in hand doing this little business. And then it was good because I could have extra money. But I thought, do you know what? I need to go beyond this. So I'm going to go to night school and study anatomy and physiology, and then the certificate to teach the theory side of the MVQ of beauty therapy and massage. So I did all that and I qualified, and then I started going to interviews as a lecturer for like tech college. But I was like 22, and then other people were interviewing in their like 30s and 40s. So, and it was around this time I met this guy at the college, and he was studying, and he was from London originally. And he's like, when I finish studying, you should come to London with me. And I was like, capital of England, Buckingham Palace, nightclubs, oh my god, Ministry of Sound, like, and that was it. I left. I went with this guy. We had like this really fun relationship. It was like a 2-3 year relationship, but only the first year we really liked each other, and the last 2 years were like, I can't afford to live alone in London, so I'm just going to stay together.
Convenience instead of a necessity, right?
Yeah, but you know what, we're still friends now. Like, he's a great guy. And yeah, I came to London, and once I broke up with him, I lived in a shared house where we all just rented bedrooms for like £150 a month. And everyone who rented bedrooms in this 6-bedroom house were aspiring models, dancers, actresses, dancers in Shadow Lounge, like that, all gay guys and like other girls. And so I just started going to auditions, and I started working in telly.
How many nights a week were you going out at that point?
There must have been about 2006, 2007, around then.
Yeah. And going out every night?
Yeah, but never Saturdays and Fridays, like, weeknights and a Sunday, yeah. Used to go to Egg, all these places, right? So I had loads of fun, and I wasn't successful, as in I never became famous, I never became established, but I made enough to pay the rent on my bedroom and go partying. Yeah. So I would work on like shopping channels, the roulette channel, the quiz show. And it was great because I could go out and then I could go to the studio and work like the night shift and stuff like that. And yeah. And then we do a little bit of modelling, but I'm 5'3", so I wasn't quite like Claudia Schiffer, but we were just doing bits and bobs, and it was fun. And then it all came to an abrupt end in 2008 when I was 24. But it had been what I did in those years, some people probably don't do in a lifetime.
Exactly. You squeezed a lot in, come on. So you said it come to an abrupt end. What was the process of that abrupt end? Where did you meet this guy?
So one of the jobs I did was in the cage fighting world. So I was that round 1, round 2 girl.
Oh my God, you've done it all. You cracked it.
I think I used to wear red lipstick every day back then.
Yeah, I've got red lipstick in heels, right?
So we would like travel around with the fighters. We'd do like Wembley Arena. It was really exciting, really good fun. And this guy, it was before social media, so Facebook was around and MySpace, but nothing else. And if you wanted to go on Facebook, you went to an internet cafe, or you had one laptop per rented house that you'd all plug into the wall, log onto your profile, then log out. You wouldn't have a smartphone or anything. So this guy started Facebooking me, and his profile he was a MMA fighter. And he was like, oh, we know the same people. I'm always at the events, always see you. So I was like, oh, cool, we're in the same circle. He's like, let's go out for a drink. And I was like, well, I'm busy, but I'll probably see you at the next event when I'm working. Yeah. And sure enough, he was at the front, he had a table, he was like hosting some people. So I was like, oh, we are in the same world, it's legit. Anyway, after that, we went on a handful of dates. I wouldn't even class this as boyfriend and girlfriend, a dating thing. And we went somewhere, I was driving, and we went somewhere for dinner in this hotel, like downstairs in the restaurant. And we had like a shot with the meal, and then we had another shot at the end.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you shouldn't drive, because I lived in North London at the time in Golders Green, right? We were in Central. He's like, you shouldn't drive because you're drunk now, and you've got your car here, and you've got an audition in Central at 9 anyway. So why don't we just stay upstairs, and then you can drive to the audition in the morning? So I thought, you know what? Okay, why not? And at this point, I know lots of people will be like, well, what happened next is your fault because you went up there. And that is how I felt for a long time.
No, that's not your fault.
Well,
you had a drink and you went upstairs. How does that make that your fault? You've only been on a few dates. Listen, a lot of people I know from my world wouldn't have even gone on the date. They would have gone straight upstairs. You know what I'm saying to you? So, but for you to sit there and say, I know a lot of people say that. A lot of people say a lot of stuff, but that doesn't make it real, and it doesn't make it right. When you are slightly liberated in any sort of sense of way, and someone tries to talk sense to you, and you think, you know what, that's quite a good idea. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're going to go up there and have a fucking mass orgy or anything else. What it does mean is that it's a good idea. So, I say that.
The naivety of me was, well, he's young and good looking, and rapists live in the bush and don't wash. That's how my mind worked when I was younger. So he went up to the room. He tried it on with me. I said no. And then he became violent. And one of the first things he did to me was like push me with quite a lot of force. And I went backwards into the door where the dressing gown hook is, and I impaled my head onto the hook. And then I was unconscious. So I fell to the ground unconscious with quite a bad open head wound. And when I don't know how long I was unconscious for, it felt like ages. But then when I came round, then obviously I was raped, I was attacked. And you know, it's funny because people know my story that I was acid attacked,
Yeah.
and this side, people, I don't really talk about it. This side was actually worse in terms of it was prolonged. So we're talking, that was the evening, and he didn't let me go till 10 a.m. the next day. So it was like a prolonged attack with a lot of injuries and very violent. Anyway, so when he did let me go, it was only because he'd only paid for one night. So housekeeping were going to come.
Yeah.
So we cleaned up the room together of like blood and everything else. And he made me take the towels that had all the blood on and stuff. And then he just drove me around London and wouldn't let me go all day. And he was just like paranoid and worried. Eventually he let me go, and I went up, told my housemates what happened. They were like, you need to go to the hospital because you're still bleeding. So I went to the hospital, and then I had my head glued back together, had some bruises in between my thighs and stuff that they photographed, and I just told them that I'd been moving a wardrobe and something had fallen off and hit my head and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I just thought, like, do you know what? I'm going to take a few weeks out of clubbing and everything. I just feel really depressed and down.
Yeah.
I stayed inside the house for like 2 days, and he was like stalking me.
But that in itself, the trauma that you went through at that, you know, most people wouldn't get over that part of it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? That's to be held hostage and then to be driven around London, and then to be made to feel that it was your fault for going up there in the first place, and everything that you went through, you know, the trauma of that, you know, that's so scary. It's so scary in itself.
And also, I never ever would have reported that attack because rape is so hard. Like, to go through the trial is so traumatic in court, but to get a conviction is like really, like, statistically impossible.
Well, especially as, you know, in your head, you took the towels, you helped him clean up the room.
Yeah.
You explaining that to 12 people in a jury is not a nice thing to do. And then for them to suddenly start saying that you were guilty of it and it was your own fault, and you know, when you're cross-examined, I can see totally why you wouldn't go through with that. You know, also it's not about just you reliving it in a court. It's about other people judging you on it and kind of saying, well, there's no smoke without fire.
Exactly, yeah. And I kind of thought, do you know what, maybe I might even leave London because, anyway, so I didn't know what I was going to do, but my head was in a mess. So he was ringing me constantly and wouldn't leave me alone. And after day 2, he was like, look, I'll leave. I promised to leave. I was begging him, leave me alone. I was saying, I promise I won't go to the police. And this was his main concern. Are you going to go to the police? Yeah, and I was like, no, I promise you I'm not going to go to the police. And he's like, okay, I've written you an email on Facebook and I just want you to read it. And I was like, well, we don't have any internet because we didn't pay the bill. You know, that's how we were living. Like, we didn't pop up our stick, nothing. So he was like, look, and I lived opposite an internet cafe. So he was like, go across the road and read this email, and I promise you I'll never talk to you ever again. So for me, I was like, oh, finally I can get rid of this psycho. Like, of course. So I left the house, and he stayed on the phone to me. He's like, don't hang up. And I was like, okay. And I was just kind of like in a blur because I was just like, I'm just going to do whatever this guy tells me to do. I just want to get rid of him. So he's like, what are you wearing today? I was like, why? He's like, I just want to know what you're wearing. Tell me what you're wearing. And I'm like, a grey tracksuit because I'm depressed and can't be bothered to shower. Like, and he's like, so where are you now? I'm like, walking down the stairs. Like, and I was just robotic, answering all the questions. Yeah, of course. Because I was just like not myself, traumatized. Then this guy comes towards me with a hood up and like a coffee cup, like locked arms with the coffee cup. So I was like, oh, this poor guy is like begging, and it's like broad daylight, really busy on our Golders Green High Road. So my handbag's on this shoulder. So I turned that way to get the money out. And then as I turn, I'm like, oh shit, this guy has just thrown petrol at me and flicked a match at me because my whole body's so hot, I'm on fire. And that's what I thought had happened to me. But in fact, he had thrown a full cup of sulfuric, like industrial strength acid in my face. So for ages, I thought I was on fire. So I'm like this all over. And then annoyingly, because it's London rush hour, everyone ignored me because they probably thought I was a crackhead because it's not visible like fire, you know.
No, of course it's not.
You do actually just look like somebody who's having like psychosis or something.
Yeah, of course, screaming and shouting and you know, and it's, you know, as you say, it's London and it was rush hour. People just don't want to get involved. They want to run past it, But happy to get involved once they've read about it and say, oh, you know what, I saw that and I didn't stop because I had to go and take the dog for a walk. All of those things, that's human nature not to get involved. Normally, now, if it was a fight, they would have got their phones out.
And filmed it, yeah. Because also, like, me screaming like a banshee, that wouldn't be that odd in, say, like Soho, some woman losing her shit, running about, like people would just ignore it. So it's ages till I got help. And then that was it. I was in a coma. I was in hospital solid for 3 months, then go home for 3-4 days at a time, then back. And then really, my last operation was 6 weeks ago. So it's been 12 years of psychological medical treatment.
So after the attack and, being in hospital all that time and actually coming out of hospital, as you say, going home for those 3 days, how the hell did you cope with that?
Well, I suppose I didn't. And there's no quick answer, and I'm not inspirational, and I haven't got the key to it.
I'm going to stop you there because you are inspirational. Don't ever say that you're not inspirational. Just, talking to you makes my hair stand on end, and you are such an inspiration in so many ways. And, that's you saying that, we all do that because we feel less than in so many areas of our lives. You know what I mean? We always feel like imposters. I do. And I will kind of say, someone will come up and tell me they love me or they love what I do. And I'm like, oh, do you know what I mean? Because I up until about a year ago, I couldn't cope with that. Because I'm in such a place of trauma. So therefore, my head tells me that I'm not worthy of that, of that kind of love and that kind of appreciation. But you are, Katie. You are.
I'm going to take it.
Yeah, please take it. What was your crutch? What did you use? How did you cope with it?
So I did all the textbook stuff of therapy, getting angry, smashing up my room, not coping, being horrible to my family who was supporting me. But I suppose I have always been stubborn and ambitious and difficult. And I think I always felt like who is man, who is anyone to play God with somebody else's life? And I knew all the intentions behind this attack. So I couldn't go ahead and give these people the end to the story they wanted. And I do feel like it sounds like a big event in my life, but it was only one night in the hotel and a few seconds on the street. So it's not my whole life, and I thought I can do much bigger things than them beyond this. And the only reason people think I can't is because I don't fit their ideal standards of beauty and femininity. And I don't really care because I never aspired to people's run-of-the-mill approval anyway. So I was like, this is just a new life, but I've always steered that kind of ship anyway. So I'm sure I can make this my thing, and make it okay, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, it was 27 hours, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, whether you allow that to completely annihilate and completely take over the rest of your life is entirely up to you. But what you've done is you've come through that in such a strong way, and you recreated your life. And the things that you do today, with your programs and the books and the documentaries and everything that you do, is not about, oh, this is Katie, I had an acid attack. It's something so much bigger than that. Do you go and say to you? And it comes from, how does someone, this is what I want to know, how does someone come from such trauma, find such strength to be so caring?
Well, I think that's the cliche part, though. It did give me purpose, because lots of people helped me, lots of people in the NHS, lots of people from churches, lots of random people with their own story of trauma. And they helped me for no reason other than being caring. And I was from a world where people only help you if you're rich and they want your money, or if you've got status and they want that status too, or they want to get on that list. I've only ever been in a dog-eat-dog world. So I was like, well, who are these people trying to help me? Why do they care? I've got nothing left. I can't give them anything. I don't understand it. And I was so touched by that side of humanity. And I thought, you know what, this is supposed to destroy you, and it hasn't destroyed me. So there's going to be people after me that go through this who it might destroy, and I know how to get through it, and I can help them. And also people started to put money through my mum and dad's letterbox because we'd done this Channel 4 documentary. Like they recognised the house and they put like tenors through the letterbox. And my mum and dad like, you can't keep that. You're on disability benefit. You can't stop. And I was just like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, do you know what? Let's set up charitable status HSBC account and just leave the money there. And I'd had to go abroad for some of the treatment. And I was like, look, if there's another asthma attack in the news, because they were really rare, you know, I was like the first one back then. I said, we can give all the money to someone else so they can go abroad for their treatment. And that's what happened. And then we formalised it. I had this random phone call from the PR woman at Channel 4. It was like, Simon Cowell wants your number. He wants to talk to you. He's seen your documentary. And I was like, oh God, it's another psycho pretending to be Simon Cowell. I've had enough weird men in my life. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But it was genuine, and I met him, and then he invested in my idea of a charity, and he partnered with me. And that was 11 years ago. And we've built a centre up north in Liverpool. We've got patients staying there now who we're treating. So we treat them medically, but we also help them with relationships, career, CVs, socialising. And he's still involved. So
it's incredible. Yeah. When I was a kid, right, when I was about 9, I think I must have been, I had this fixation with fire. And I've shared it quite a few times about how I used to set fires to the house, right, all the time. Like we had pampas grass in the living room. I would go up to it and think, well, that looks like it would go up in flames. And with a lighter and light it, you know, and net curtains and just random stuff. You know, I had this fixation, and I would get those cans of Ronson lighter fuel.
Yeah.
Yellow cans. And I would pour it on my hands, and I would light my hands and see out and then put it out. And I used to do it, and I used to hang around with my friends. It would be like our party trick. And then one night we were fire eating with it, and I put it in my mouth, and I spurted it out with a lighter, and the wind blew back. But where I'd been putting it on my hands, and I'd been wiping my face, my whole face had petrol on it. So the whole of my face went up in flames. When you were talking, all I could think about was when you were talking about the acid burn, all I could think about was that burn on my face.
If I hadn't have gone to term to get the money out,
yeah,
I would have lost the sight in that eye as well, you know. So it's so lucky that I did turn to get my wallet.
To look at you today, you're absolutely stunning. Seriously stunning. And to go from that, I mean, just the thought, like how you would get your head about how you're never going to look pretty again, how no one's ever going to find you attractive again. Mm-hmm. You know, was there a stage at all that you turned to alcohol?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really hard actually, because the most difficult stage was trying to return to an adult life. So when I recovered, I went back home with my parents, medical people were involved, and those kind of people, you know, they're not shallow, they're really supportive. And you think like, oh, okay, it's a different life, but it's one I can cope with. And I was returning to professional life by running the charity, running a board. I'd had the book deal, I'd done a documentary, so I had like professional purpose. So when I made my first bit of money, I bought a flat in Chiswick, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. I'm going to go to IKEA and get a Billy bookcase. And, you know, it was like independent. But it was naive, because like my friendship groups were like trying for kids, getting mortgages, getting married. And I was sort of like, you know, just quite far behind. It was like regressing back to being a child, really. Yeah, of course. And then I thought, okay, well, I need to go back to like being a woman. So I guess I need to date, right? And I wonder how I'm going to do that. And this is weird. And then that was when the realization set in. It does matter to society if you look different, and it is really difficult. And like it was hard because like my appearance in a dark bar with like tea light candles is I'm thin and I've got long blonde hair. So like people would from the back approach me. Drunk people would chat me up. People would even snog me, right? And then we would swap like BBMs, you know, when everyone had the Blackberries.
Yeah.
And then guys would BBM me, and like this one guy was BBMing me for like months, right? But we never met up because I was really busy, like my career. I was going to America to make a documentary. So the whole time I kept in touch with him, and we had this phone relationship where we'd ring good night, ring in the morning, like this proper phone relationship. And then he was like, oh, what do you even do for a living? So I didn't want to say about the book or the program. So I just said, oh, I work at a charity. And he was like, and he knew my name was Katie, right? Yeah. And he was, oh, is it a big one that I'd know? And I was like, no, it's a really small burns charity called Katie Piper Foundation. And he was like, oh my God, he's like, have you ever met Katie Piper? And I was like, well, that's me. Katie, like, my name's Katie, isn't it? That's me. And that's it. He totally ghosted me. We went.
No way.
He didn't even reply ever. We went from good morning, good night every day, falling asleep on the phone together. So then I left it there, messaged me like, hey, you okay? Like, didn't hear back from you, nothing. Then I messaged again, like, have I upset you? And he just totally ghosted me. Then I had another guy that I met.
That one's probably still got his BlackBerry, darling. Do you know?
Maybe.
That's how forward thinking he was.
Know.
He's probably still on his BlackBerry now messaging people. Do you know what I mean? Loser.
Yeah. We never got back in touch. Then there was another guy, like we swapped numbers in Clapham and we were out, and then he texted, and I thought, like, this time I'm going to go out with them straight away because I don't want to prolong it and then they don't like me and then it's all like bad for my confidence. So we met up and we kind of like, he was at the table and I walked in, and when I walked in it was really awkward. And I was like, this is weird. I can feel it's a bad vibe. And I sat down and he was all like twitchy with the menu. And like, I was just like, oh, you twitchy weirdo, what are you doing? And then he ordered like a drink, and then they gave us like the food menu. And he was like, I'm going to go to the loo back in a minute. And like Nobu's like 16 quid drink, right?
Yeah.
So drink. And then he went to the loo, and it was a while. He never came back. And I waited and I waited, and I was like, this guy's gone, like, and he's left me with the bill for 2 16 quid drinks, and I've just come off disability benefit, and he couldn't even like pretend, oh, my cat's ill, I've got to go, like. And I sat there for 30 minutes thinking maybe he's having a shit.
That human nature sometimes is so wrong. Just the fact that he didn't sit there and say, you could see how much trauma you've gone through. Oh, I'll just do a leg it. I'll leg it. I hope he's really fat now and really unhappy. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Which he probably is, because that kind of happens to people like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
If I don't fancy someone, I stay for a drink because we might end up being good friends or colleagues.
100%.
But anyway, so I'm not saying that those men turned me into an alcoholic, but those attempts to be normal and read an adult woman's life, it set me back, and I had this naive confidence that kind of got a little bit kind of destroyed. And then on my professional life, like, we'd gone to the BAFTAs, the program got nominated for BAFTA, then I got a 3-year, 3-book deal, and then I started working abroad, and like, it honestly, like, my career was so good and it was insane. So every time a project would do well, Channel 4 would send me a bottle of like Dom Perignon. Every time I won an award, I'd get invited to champagne receptions, and yeah. But it was bittersweet because I had nobody to celebrate. So always my plus one was either a PR person or it was my mum, because I had no one, no friends, no bloke, no one that wanted to come with me. So on the surface, it was like, how amazing is your life? Then I'd go back to the flat in Chiswick, a courier would knock the door, it was another bottle of champagne from the publishers because it was #1, Sunday Times bestseller. And I'd end up opening the bottle and drinking it alone, and then walking up the dual carriageway towards Hammersmith to BP and buying a bottle of white wine, drinking it. Then I was falling asleep clothed in the lounge. Then I was missing jobs. And no one ever knew, because you can keep it such a secret, alcohol.
Yeah,
because you can do it in front of people.
Because it's okay to do it. That's just it. It's the, you know, if you if you leave the table to go and do a line, everyone knows what you're doing. But if it's okay to sit at the table and drink, you know, even if you've got a drink problem, they believe you have a drink problem, or even have, you know, an inkling of it, they'll still sit there with you and drink because they wouldn't be proven right. You know, it's insane.
It went on for ages, and I also had money, so then I could go to the shop and buy like 6 bottles of champagne and drink them over 2 days, or like they just became really bad. And then you'd start going to events that let people start drinking at lunch. So then it would, like, in London, it's quite normal, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like, I just had this really horrible, dark times where it was like, at first the drink was good for confidence and to make me forget my problems. And then I'd have these times in the flat where I'd drink and I'd start like uglily crying, you know, like hyperventilating crying. Yeah. And all this past would come out on my own, like talking to myself and stuff.
It's not crying. Do you know what I mean?
It's just like an exorcism.
Yeah, you know that, yeah. Everything comes out of every orifice, yeah.
Yeah. And then it started getting dangerous career-wise, because then I started getting aggressive and rude to people at events. Then I went to like House Festival and like kicked off, and there were like journalists there. And then my PR lady was like, you need to get help and we can't.
That's the root of alcoholism. It really is. It's like, you know, we start off socially drinking, we start off drinking because we're depressed, which is, hello, the biggest depressant of them all is alcohol.
like, because I was like, am I an alcoholic? And then, the woman I worked with was like, you need to go to alcohol counselling. And I was like, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. And I couldn't really see it. And it was like, I used to get a lot of bad flashbacks, a lot of bad dreams. I used to get a lot of insomnia because I'd play over what happened to me. And then have like a drink to fall asleep, and it didn't work, have another. And then it was like, I can't sleep without passing out. And then it was always, then I realised I can only black out to get to sleep. And I was like, okay, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. What properly stopped me was when I met my husband. We started sort of casually, it was like the days of Blockbusters. We get like a video and watch Blockbusters, and then we'd get like just little drinks and food, and then I would turn really aggressive and start self-sabotaging and pushing him away for no reason. There was no reason to row, and he was like, why are you trying to break all this up before it's even started? And he was like, you're so nice sober, and then you pick a row and you're so aggressive and confrontational. And it goes back to what you said, that self-sabotaging and I'll hurt you before you hurt me. And
I don't deserve you. I'm gonna ruin his life anyway, so I might as well do it now. A million times I've been there.
But he was like, look, I really like you, but we can't move forward. That's not going to work. So I'll stay while you sort this out, but you have to sort this out. So then I was like, I have to sort this out now. So, and then that's when I sorted it out. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Would you drink today socially?
I have to be really careful because, like, I can really embarrass myself if I get like lose control drunk. I can get really bad anxiety the next day and paranoia. I can also get upset sometimes, but yeah, I'm not teetotal. I do drink sometimes, but I'm quite a private person. Like, I don't really go to bars and clubs. If I do drink, it would be with friends in a house. Like,
so you know your limits today. You get to that point where you think, okay, time to go home. It's time. I don't go. I'm not having another drink now. Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't go to a bar and drink shots with strangers and get drunk. Like, if I went to your house for dinner and I'd have some wine with you.
Well, you wouldn't, not in my house. I'd make you drink alcoholic drinks.
You don't do that. Yeah.
We've got a dinner party tonight. We're doing cocktails, but it's all non-alcoholic cocktails which taste like alcohol.
Oh, okay.
Liars, they're incredible. You should try them. And we're doing that. So everyone who's coming tonight thinks they're going to have cocktails, and it's like we're not telling them.
I mean, I guess that's the good place I'm in, that I can have a really good time without drinking. I'm okay with that.
That's recovery, and I think that's testament to where you're at in your life. Also,
like, this sounds like really anti-feminist, and I don't mean it the way some people are going to take it. But as a woman, I'm scared to get drunk when I'm out, because whether it's a right or wrong, it makes you more vulnerable to attack.
Honey, you have every right to say that from what happened to you and where you've been.
Yeah.
I would never, and I could probably say hand on heart, if what you went through and the repercussions of what you went through and over the years, I'd probably never go out the house again. Do you know what I'm saying to you? The fact that you choose not to do that is listen, that's your right. That is your right. You own that. You have that right. You really do. To go from what you went through to where you're at now, with the books, the programs, the list is ending. I was really privileged when you asked me to do your podcast for Extraordinary People, because I used to watch the program and I'd listen to the program, and and it's kind of like it was like on my wish list as such. Do you know what I mean? It was like there. I just thought, oh, I'd love to do that. Do you know what I mean? And then you asked me, and I was just so blown away by it and so touched.
Well, I think connecting with you on the podcast and talking to you, it's people like you and all the guests I've had on there, that they all have faced adversity. Things have happened to them that should have finished them off, and it doesn't. And it kind of shows you sometimes that adversity can be the thing that allows you to triumph in life, and you become, you don't feel as insecure because you become unbreakable and untouchable. And I'm not saying that if it happens to me all again, I'd be able to deal with it in the same way, but I feel really robust, and whatever does happen to me, I'll be able to take it in my stride. And I think you just can't get hung up on other people's version of coping and other people's version of attractive and success.
We're all different, and we all have different coping mechanisms, and some people that would destroy that journey would have destroyed them. For me, I use my trauma and my past trauma, my childhood trauma today to power me. I use it like it's empowering in the sense of it doesn't control me anymore. It doesn't eat me up. I don't wake up in the middle of the night like I used to, crying because of what's happened to me in my past. Today, I sleep really well. And that's because I've dealt with it, and I continue to deal with it. And I think, like you, Katie, when you help other people and you do what you do, that in itself is another power. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Because if someone DMs me, or they stop me in the street and they ask me, oh look, I've got my son, my brother, me, myself, I've got this problem with drugs, I will give them all the time they need. And you know what? I come away with that probably feeling better than they do, because I get so much from it. By helping and stopping. And you know what? The moral of this story is, if you see someone screaming in the street, don't walk past. Do you get what I mean? A little caring hand, because that's what it takes. It's all it takes to ask someone, are you okay?
Yeah, and you don't actually know the depth of that and how much you could help them. I mean, just through the charity alone, we've been able to meet people from intensive care who now I've ended up going to their weddings, I've met their new babies, like they've done the full circle.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I've finished reading Michelle Obama's book, and massive fan of hers, and she, that saying that they go low, we go high. I feel like what happened to me is a person underestimated me, and that person and that event inspired me so much. And it's so interesting that the evil in one can actually show you a whole new world, a whole new mindset, one you were missing out on, and it inspired me to be a completely different person. And instead of destroying me, it was almost the other end of the scale. Like, it motivated me so much to leave behind my old life. I questioned the fulfillment I was pursuing. I questioned all my aspirations completely changed. It was like radical in that sense.
Where you are today probably is more destroying to him than what he got in court. The fact that you are such a powerful woman, and the fact that you've come through it, and you're stunning, and all of those things that you grow from the inside out. There's not one bad thing about you, Katie, and I kind of think that probably is more destroying to him than anything, because he wanted to destroy your life, and that didn't happen.
It's really interesting you say that, because I can hand on my heart honestly say to you, there's no revenge in my heart at all.
That's just it. There's something to you. There isn't. You don't need, it's beyond that. You've gone beyond that. Resentments kill. And when we resent something, we allow it to become so big, and we give it such power that it destroys us. It doesn't destroy them. It destroys us. My philosophy in life is, don't be bitter, be better.
Well, I think interesting you say that, because the title of this, recovery, when you go through recovery, when you have therapy, it's one of the biggest things, isn't it? You let go, you're not bitter, there's no pity committee or anything like that, and that is very liberating. And for all people that are like, oh, I wouldn't go to the counsellor, I wouldn't go to therapy, what's the point in talking about something? Honestly, it's so liberating, and your shoulders become so light, and you just live with a sense of excitement and a zest for life. It's just a great feeling. And also, when something happens that's out of your control, for some people it can make them feel quite trapped. But once you realize, oh, everything I do and how I react to this is in my control, then you start to get excited, and you realize you're in the driving seat, you're the captain of the ship, and nothing can go wrong therefore after that.
Because when we keep something in here, it becomes so big. It becomes the size of a fucking Olympic stadium. But once it comes out of here, it becomes so small. And you just think, and after time, the more you talk about it, the more you process it, the more you let it out, and you don't let it define who you are, it becomes so insignificant. And you know what? And that's what you get through counselling, and that's what you get just by opening your mouth and talking about it. If you can't afford to go counselling, or you don't have the means or the ways to get that, there's so many charities that can help you.
Totally, like what you're talking about as well is it's basically shame and it's fear. And I think for me, I lived with fear and I lived with shame for a long time after. And that was when I turned my corner of I'm not going to be fearful of the world and life. And I'm not going to be ashamed of my story and how it happened. I'm not going to be ashamed of my appearance. I'm not going to feel unattractive. But also being a realist, I am going to go to places where people are going to say horrible things about the way I look. I am going to be turned down by
Of course you
people.
are, because that's human nature. People love to say anything they want.
Life. Yeah, that happens anyway. I'm sure that happens to you. That happens to.
I get it all the time. I get people, people go, oh, people love to be nice to you, and then you're not like if you, for some unknown reason you don't return a DM or something, you get called faggot, and it's just like, oh, please, if that's the best you can do, tell me something I don't know on a good day. Do you get what I'm saying to you?
Own it. Well, so like, say for me, if people insult me, I'm like, yeah, I'm burnt. I know I'm burnt, and do you know what? The burn works for me. I don't work for it, and it's a fact. Like you can't hurt. I know who I am. I know what I'm not, and I know what I am. So you can't really hurt me with factual observation.
No. When people say this stuff, I have a really good friend. What she said to me was, Tony, why do you buy into that? Play dead. Mm-hmm. And it was the best advice anyone's ever given me, because I love to react. But you know what? Action and reaction are two different things. So I put in action by not even responding.
Yeah.
I'm not getting my power. Say what you want. Like, I care. And they can't cope with that.
I used to go up to this stage, but I constantly wear no makeup all the time, especially on dates, because I was a bit like kind of brash in your face. Like, this is it. This is who I am. Not bothered. Not going to have a second date. I'd rather know now. Equally, on holiday, I'd be like thong bikini, because I have a lot of scars on my body, like thong bikini, show everything. So like, you might as well stare on day one, and then when we're done, everyone's seen it. Everyone in the resort knows, oh, there's that girl. Like, and I think that was the whole thing of doing public stuff like the programs was, I wore a plastic mask for like 2 years.
Yeah, I remember.
I worked so much, and I did front cover magazine shoots in the mask, and I was like, well, it's kind of cool. It's quite avant-garde, and just. It is me.
The thing is, you owned it, Katie, and that's it. You owned it.
Recovery. Why should I pretend? I don't have to shrink, So, and the same now with the eye. It's like, I'm in a long recovery with my eye, so I just wear a false lash on like one eye, nothing on that eye.
Yeah.
Like just do. And I've got like cover shoots booked in. I'm going on holiday. I just carry on.
Everything you just said is the recovery. It's the recovery, and I love you, and I think that keep inspiring, keep being you. It's incredible. It really is, and I'm just so happy that you did this for us. And
Thank you.
I've got all mushy, and it doesn't happen.
We could hug, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll see. I just think, what? Just enjoy everything, every moment. Just enjoy it.
I do, and I will, and that's a good ethos to live by. And keep making me laugh with your memes. I love it. You cheer me up every day.
You know what? I try my hardest. I think you put me in a really bad mood earlier because I had a meme blank. I couldn't find a meme, couldn't find anything, and I was like rummaging through my phone, and I was getting really angry, and I was just like, "What are you doing? Just chill out for 20 minutes." No one, there's not on a time scale here. Do you know what I mean? When I see something funny and I repost it or steal it from someone else, it's all about timing, and and I really love it when people get it and they come up to me and they say, you know what, you really make me laugh, because laughter is such an amazing thing.
Honestly, that's one of the most important things, and you can do so much with that currency of laughter. It sounds pathetic, but one meme I can see of yours in the morning could change how moody I was when I wake up. So it sets your day up.
Right, before we go, one DJ question, because it's what I do for a living, funnily enough, even though I'm like doing everything else. But literally one tune that would you would listen to at the lowest point of your life, or the go-to tune that you think, I'm going to put this on because this is so uplifting and so inspiring. What would it be?
I think inspiring. So I love Michael Jackson, which some people find controversial, but I don't.
Well, that's their shit, not ours. Yeah.
So I really like the song "They Don't Really Care About Us" because
amazing choice. Yeah.
I guess it is more around race, but for me, it's around the underdog and people not really giving a shit about you if you're not elite and you can't do anything for them. And I love, he was very passionate. He was an activist, really. and he kind of cared about those that were less than. So yeah, the lyrics to that song. He's the only artist that didn't really constantly sing around relationships and sex. Like he sung about many other issues. Then there was one song that really makes you cry. It's really sad. It's a bit of a cheesy one. Is Mariah Carey Hero. No, isn't that sadder? But I feel like I've had so many heroes that have come into my life and helped me, especially my surgeon, my doctor. And if it wasn't for those people, I wouldn't be the person I am. So
We'll let you have Mariah Carey Heroes. I think, you know what, you own that as well. I think you deserve that one. Oh, I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you too.
God bless, sweetheart.
Yeah, bye-bye. It was lovely.
Okay, love you. Bye.